Hello and welcome to The Film Angle. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kris.
And we're back after a little short break. It was Mental Health Awareness Week 2 weeks ago, and we decided to take a mental health break. Lots going on in life right now.
Yeah.
Lots going on. And it probably didn't help that the main film we went to see this week was a bit of a weird one, I would say.
Not great for if you're stress. You have a stressful life outside of wanting to watch movies. This probably isn't going to help you out too much.
Anxiety the movie potentially is an alternate name. We're just gonna start talking about the latest Ari Aster film. Beau is Afraid. I am a fan of Ari Aster's previous two films. He did Hereditary. He did Midsommar. Hereditary I really liked. Midsommar, I bloody loved that one. I thought it was brilliant. Really interesting horror film, which is kind of more creepy and gruesome than it is maybe scary, but has a lot of interesting mind-bending stuff going on, and an excellent lead performance from Florence Pugh, probably the one that slingshotted her into stardom, I would say. Maybe
I mean, people are still using memes of her in that movie to this day. You know, she became a really big sort of she became the face of A24 in a way, didn't she, for a period.
But now she's doing Marvel films, and apparently that has annoyed the indie film world. She said in a recent interview. Did you see that?
Yeah, I actually saw that conversation today, and I mean, I don't really get it, to be honest. I mean, he can blame an actor for wanting to have work and an income like all the rest of us in the world.
Yeah, I will say she seems to be pretty good at doing all the indie films still. I feel like maybe Elizabeth Olsen kind of was a bit of an indie darling. Went to Marvel. She's not done a lot of the smaller stuff since.
Which is a shame, because I think her performance as Wanda is like one of my favorite one of my favorite Marvel characters, just because of how great she is.
Yeah, absolutely. She is great in that, and she's a brilliant actress. They are both, but we have no Florence Pugh in this one. We have Joaquin Phoenix. Though I just want to say, Beau was Afraid. I think go see it.
I would say definitely go see it,
because I don't think we're going to be able to talk about this film without spoiling it. Can you spoil it? I guess so. But to really understand if I liked this film, I feel like I'm really going to have to get into it with you, Kris.
Okay.
And this week, we haven't spoken to each other about the film before even starting the podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you think. And maybe you're getting a little bit of an impression of where my mind is right now. But to sum up Beau was Afraid, I'm going to let you know about my cinema experience. Late night Monday, because it was the only time I could do that made sense. It's a long film. It's 3 hours. It was me, 2 other people in the cinema. By the end of the night, I was the only man standing.
Oh, really?
Yep, the other 2 people left the cinema.
How long were they together or separate?
They were together, and they lasted 2 hours.
Oh, I mean, like, I never get that. I mean, you've invested 2 hours of your life.
I know. Just see the final hour. I can see why this film would turn people off, but
I find that. I mean,
you've already invested so much time.
Yeah, and I find that strange as well, because for me, if you're going to walk out of it, I probably, that's not me. But if somebody wasn't getting on with that movie, I probably would be going in the first hour. I think the movie, is at its strongest in its midsection. So yeah, that's interesting. So I mean, do your research, people. You need to know what you're going to go into sometimes.
But there's only so much research you can do, because I don't think I knew just how weird this film was going to get, and I do feel bad for the people that left, because they missed a pretty weird sex scene followed by a 12-foot giant penis. So that sums up the film for
Have you seen my name on on Zencaster? We have our own names that you can type in each time. I actually am 12-foot penis monster today.
Yes, I did see that. And I wanted to kind of I know our rule was to not speak to each other about the film this week, but I really just wanted to find weird penis monster gifs and send them to you.
You know what? That's there is, in this tale of misery and cruelty, there's actually there's a lot of odd humor laced throughout
Yeah.
this.
Well,
Um,
it was advertised as a horror comedy, right? And
yeah,
I'm not sure I'd go down
that's
the
not a good
horror route.
That's not a that's not a
But
correct like reflection of the film at all.
comedy, you can kind of get a little bit, not a straight up Adam McKay comedy, but like a bit of a bizarre comedy. Um, it is funny. I would have liked to have seen this with more than two people and then zero people. I would have liked to have seen this
Mm.
with a full crowd so that you fully felt comfortable laughing. But when you're in a pretty quiet cinema and the other two audience members aren't getting on with it, you're like, okay. I remember looking around after they left and the very uncomfortable sex scene that happens.
Oh yeah,
I was just kind of laughing to myself, like, what the hell? I'm
there.
here.
Yeah,
It's 10 o'clock on a Monday night, and I'm sat in the cinema by myself watching the strangest film.
yeah. I mean, we had about five other people in our screen, maybe a bit, yeah, maybe more. They all stayed the whole way through, and they're actually. I heard a couple of giggles on the obvious moments, but mostly everybody was pretty like stone faced throughout the whole
Mm,
thing. So I think everybody knew the assignment a little bit when they came. I know you can't really prepare yourself for this
mm.
film, but if you know Aster's work, you know you're going to get something at least kind of outrageous, especially when as you go towards the third act of his films. I mean, it's worth saying though. I mean, the guy's only made two feature films before this, and he's already like attained such a cult following. You know, it's like you'd almost think he made 10 pretty serious contending films over the last sort of 20 years, but no, this
Absolutely.
guy's pretty new. I mean, Hereditary was like 2016, 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
um yeah, so he's built up a name for himself very, very quickly, and like he's already getting his sort of X amount of $1 million movie that he can make and just make about anything he wants. You know, that's pretty crazy for a director this new to make a movie this long, and that's got a big
Yeah.
theatrical release.
Was A24 the people? Because I know they are mainly a distribution company, but
Yeah,
were they the guys who funded this one? I think they or
yeah. This is an A24. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, to get the script for this film and be like, okay,
Hmm.
yeah, sure. We'll hand you the money. Maybe just for our listeners who don't know what the hell's going on. Beau was Afraid is about a very paranoid man who embarks on this journey
Hmm.
home to his mother after initially missing the flight to go out to her, and then receiving a pretty harrowing phone call, which alludes us, the audience, to believe that his mum has died and he needs to get back to the funeral.
Yeah.
And craziness ensues. Interesting, you said earlier, Kris, that you said the middle part of this movie is the strongest part. Um,
Hmm.
I disagree. I
Okay.
disagree. I think the opening sets up this crazy world in a really good way.
Yeah.
I think it meanders a lot in the middle, and then I think the end section sequence between Beau and his childhood love,
Yes.
and then his mother is probably for me the strongest element of the film. I feel sorry for the people who
Hmm.
left.
No, no, I agree in terms of like I think the third act of the movie is the only part of the movie that really conjures up any sort of serious emotion that you didn't actually feel like you had. You know, I think the movie's strength is its cruelty to Beau, and
Mm,
and it's very assaultative to watch this movie. It's almost like an endurance test, like in an interesting way. I didn't find this like a slog or anything. I felt the length. Don't get me wrong at all.
oh yeah.
I felt the 179 minutes, but I was transfixed through the whole journey because it breaks the mold in terms of construct and how a movie is kind of generally formed, and you're kind of guessing all the way to the end, even though it kind of lays its cards on the table pretty early. You're still they're still wrapped up in the spell and wondering where this it's like a Greek tragedy, isn't it? It's very it wears the Odyssey theme very heavily on its sleeve, and yeah, I mean, and Joaquin Phoenix, no surprise, can carry a movie that long really, really easily. Yeah, he makes it both. He's both hilarious in this and very 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 sympathetic, and And I know he's supposed to come off as pathetic, but I just couldn't help but feel sorry for this creature, really, the shell of somebody who's a wasted potential.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I'd like to know, because it seems that by the end of the film that we are meant to think that potentially Beau has squandered all this potential and made many mistakes. But part of me feels like this is just like the whole film is just his anxiety. Like
Mm.
every single thing seems to be either his fault or the world just seems to be absolutely against him
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everybody hates him. And those are the kind of feelings that you have sometimes when you have anxiety. So I don't know what side the filmmaker lands on, but I think there's a bit of a trial section at the end of the film, and
yeah,
I kind of felt for Beau. I
yeah,
didn't. I think he
100%.
was being unfairly. Uh, what would you call it? Like unfairly accused of things that we've seen, and then you're like, well, no, I don't. Like his keys did get lost, and he didn't miss the flight out of negligence,
Well,
as
yeah,
far as we're aware. But that's the thing. This film doesn't really. This film presents itself as in a bit of a tornado of like, is it real? Is it not? You never really know. Like even the world that it's set in doesn't feel like Earth. It feels like a
of course. I mean,
dystopian
it's
future where
yeah,
there's just violence on the street and
yeah.
nobody cares. Maybe
There's there
that's true.
it's a world where people get killed on the street and 5 days later their body's still on the street and nobody's came to collect it. It's a world where Beau tries to go even just to get a bottle of water across the street seems like going through like a nuclear war zone. It's completely filled with peril. A lot of that he projects himself. I think this I haven't had a lot of time to sit on it. Obviously, I only saw this last night, and this movie kind of
Mm,
requires a little bit of like incubation to kind of let it settle and think about and ponder about. Because I do think Aster does. There's a lot of movies like these auteur movies, and there's a lot of there's over posturing and over being flamboyant with than what they need to be at the story. But I do think it's quite a thoughtful film. I I see the mother as really a villain here, and I see not really any reality here. I see all of this as like a construct of the mother, that this sort of codependency that they have for each other, where she is both disappointed at sort of the failure that he is, but also is the thing stopping him from ever, ever succeeding in all
mm.
facets of his life. I think she wants him where he is, but is also ashamed of that too, and he's a victim of that.
Yeah, he definitely is a victim. I don't know if I saw her as a full blown villain. I just saw her as a very flawed mother because there's clearly a lot of love there,
Mhm.
and
Okay, yeah.
yeah, was there? I saw it Monday and it was late at night. But is the idea is that Beau, she was finding it difficult to conceive, and Beau was um almost a bit of a miracle child, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. I think she wanted the child. I think she wanted a child more than actually wanted to love a child. I
Mm,
think there's a little bit of that too. I let's address the elephant in the room. When Beau, his mother's passed away in the story. She's a chandelier. We're told landed on her head, and she was basically decapitated by it and dead. And that's why he's trying to make his way home, and he's being stopped with all these different obstacles on the way. But whenever he gets run over by a car pretty early in the story, and he then lives in this house. Well, he is then resident to this couple. One is a doctor played by Nathan Lane, and the other is kind of like almost like a surrogate mother for his real mum. He's played by Amy Ryan, and they are sort of like hindering him from going to visit his mother. He is actively trying to get out and go visit her, but it's almost like they're tempting him with complacency, kind of like what he does with his therapist.
mm,
He is sort of somewhat responsible for his own feelings too, but he blames on his mother. and this is exactly what's happening here too. And it's revealed later on in the story that the mothers hired these people to kind of put these obstacles in this way, almost testing Beau. Is that kind of what you got from it?
Uh, yes, yeah. Well, especially by the end, it more explicitly says that
Yeah.
yeah, we those were tests. But then again, the end makes you think that everything was a test, and I'm not sure everything was.
Mm.
But yeah, I kind of felt his pain in those moments of like that. You
Mm.
know, you need something to be done, but you also need to be the nice guy who's just
Mm.
like happy for things to happen.
The
He
stuff
can't
with
put his foot
Elaine,
down.
yeah, the stuff with Elaine, I thought, that was when the movie out of nowhere started to become quite tender and very like, very
Mm,
it was very sweet in its in that sort of 10-minute stretch before obviously it all went to pot. And it's really really cruel. It's actually, watching it is very heartbreaking. I know that that scene is somewhat comedic with the sex scene, and his mother is kind of implanted into his brain his whole life, that all the men in their family, whenever they whenever they ejaculate or climax for the first time, I know it sounds hilarious when you say it like that, but you know whenever that, she's put it into his head that if that happens, if he ever has sex in his life, he's going to die on the spot. Um, it's incredible thing. But it's just like, it's completely cementing the fact that she wants complete control over him. She wants him to be for nobody but herself. By putting like a planting a seed like that in anyone's brain hinders them from ever having any confidence in life, or being successful, or leading a life of confidence, because
mm,
they're limited by such a simplistic thing. um
yes, it is
yeah,
still funny
it is
because
it is still funny.
you see early on a shot of him getting out of the bath, and he has
Yeah.
giant testicles, and you're just like, what? And
I
it's
know.
so brief. It's so brief. They're like, did I? Were they huge? But
Yeah.
then it comes back again when the doctor has seen them, because because obviously they've hit Beau with their car, and they're looking after him, and he's a doctor, and he's tended to him, and he was naked in the street as well. When he got hit by the car, so much goes on in this film, and he
Yeah.
thinks that maybe he needs to take those balls in for a scan because it could be something worse. Turns out
Just to be safe. Just to be safe, he says.
Turns out that the guy just has had no sexual
Release his whole
release
life. Well,
for his whole life.
and even when him and Elaine get down to business and he climaxes, she even says that he broke free the bag.
Yeah, I know, I know. That's when I was questioning, like, what am I doing here at 10 o'clock at night by myself?
It's like, it's those gestures though. Like, do they dilute what Aster's doing in terms of like having any sort of emotional like connection to this movie at times? I feel like there's so many like thresholds where like you feel like yourself over getting wrapped in this and becoming emotionally
Mm.
involved, and then it's kind of underpinned by this sort of either not strange, but a choice by Phoenix or by Aster as a filmmaker. And
It goes a little
goes over.
Lynchian, a little
Yeah, sure.
Mulholland Drive, where it's just like something random happens, and I can't piece it all together. Like, I think that's my biggest. Well, not my biggest, because I don't mind films like this, because I don't mind Mulholland Drive and like other films like it, like Under the Silver Lake, like these random
Yeah.
films where things happen, but it is kind of this more in depth character psyche thing.
Mm.
Um, but I must say, the length of it, the bizarreness of it, and just the way it switches up quite fast, did at times lose me a little bit. And there was definitely a moment halfway through the film where I was a little bit like, "Oh no, I don't think this is. I don't think this is good."
Okay.
Um, but it kind of got me back on track with the theater in the woods stuff,
Oh, that
and
scene,
then and
the
then that
animation sequence. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
incredible.
didn't like the stuff in the house with the doctor and his family. that much. That was probably the weaker element of the film to me, and I thought it would be something I would enjoy, but a lot of it I found quite obvious,
Hmm.
and
Well,
I just
I find that part of the film quite fun to kind of work out the intention there. I find the stuff with the daughter quite interesting. With and the way that Nathan Lane's doctor just gives away pills like they're nothing, and these I find that stuff quite quite interesting because the movie just takes a real turn from there. I find a real parallel with that and like Darren Aronofsky's Mother. I've thought about that movie a
mm,
lot when I watch this. You know,
it is difficult because you have a lot of healthy people playing mentally ill people in very stereotypical ways.
mm,
And I think those scenes, part of me felt a little icky. Part of me was just like, I kind of see where this is going a little bit. Like, I realize he's going to be out of that house soon, and I don't know, the just that section in particular lost me a little bit. And it, yeah, a lot of critics did not like this film. I think it's fair to say a lot of audiences did not like
yeah,
this film.
it
It
was a love or
seems to
hate.
be a love or hate, and it seems to be a minority love. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, from looking at that and all those aggregate websites and letterbox, it seems to be a love or hate thing. I've critics that I follow that give it fives, and I've got critics I follow that give it ones. It's
Yeah.
really if it worked for you. Um, yeah.
I find it very difficult to rate this film in that way because I don't know if I liked it,
Hmm.
but I must have because I'm thinking about it and I'm interested in it and I wanted to talk to you about it. And that, at the end of the day, is what a good film does. It makes you want to chat
Yeah.
to your friends
Yeah.
about it. I think it takes big swings. I don't think it hits all of them. I think it
No.
misses quite a few. Um, but I'm so happy that it exists
Hmm.
because I would be sad. Well, I wouldn't know any different, but if I knew that it could have existed and it didn't, I think I'd be sad because I think it's so out there, and you just don't see people making these kind of films on this kind of scale
Yeah.
very
No.
often.
I think if it's not even your thing, if you're listening to this and you think that sounds a bit strange, I think it's worth seeing anyway. I think it is an experiential sort of film, as opposed to
Mm.
actually, you don't feel like you're in a film. Sometimes it just breaks a lot of rules, but yeah, it's cruel. It plays with you too. I mean, you don't get the happy ending out of this. Also,
No, no. I'm happy I saw it in the cinema though because I
no,
think
you
it
needed to be in the headspace, don't you?
yeah, I think it would have tested my patience at home.
Hmm.
But yeah, the ending is very interesting and
I
very
yeah.
heavily inspired by a film that we love that we watched from the BFI list recently, which was A Matter of Life and Death.
Yeah. I thought about that whenever I saw the big massive arena being on trial and the two sort of attorneys kind of like throwing it at each other. I
Yeah, it
saw
was
that.
like Truman Show meets Life and
Yeah,
Death. Uh,
it was interesting though. I mean, I have a thought about how it ends and the choice to like submerge him under the water at the end. I don't know if
mm,
you had any thoughts about it, but I kind of saw like the arena is kind of like being his mother's womb again, kind of like
okay.
him returning to the womb and being submerged back into the only place where he ever felt safe and comfortable and being forced there. I kind of got that vibe, that kind of like bringing us back to the start of the movie again when Beau was born and he didn't make a sound. I mean, at the start of it, he doesn't cry and she's panicking about why he isn't crying, and that kind of starts the whole thing off.
Yes.
So I saw what he was doing there. I think, I mean, I mean, I probably could have 10 different versions of what that could mean, but I very much saw it that way. There's a lot of water in this movie, and I think that's significant. Beau going into water, being surrounded by water, submerged in water. Whether it's being in the bath and some sweaty guy being in the ceiling and then
Yeah.
they have this fight in the bath that like is like so violent, and like I can't believe nobody got hurt shooting in that scene. But there, I forget, you're talking about giggling. There is a part of the movie I just like, it got me for some reason. Like it's not an obvious thing. It's not the 12-foot penis monster. It's not the climax in the mother's bedroom. It was the
on the day of a funeral.
not the funeral. It was quite early on in the first act when he's still in his New York apartment, and it's actually the scene where he gets ran over. And Joaquin Phoenix it's kind of reminded me of his performance in Inherent Vice a little bit, where when he gets ran over and he just lets out this like really like childish baby shriek as he gets flung through the road, and I just like I was giggling to myself, like I had my head down. I think Lauren was wondering what I was doing for like the next. I just kept coming back to me for the next minute. I was just like, I just watched something that I was quite emotionally kind of like intense about. Where's this going to go? And then it just underpinned it with the most ridiculous shriek from Joaquin Phoenix. I just didn't know what happened to me. It was just
and
like
a guy just bollock naked with a knife, getting ready to stab him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just like you're in some sort of weird dreams space yourself, but I think he captures anxiety and dream like nightmares and all that sort of stuff in between in this movie. I think there is like it's very Lynchian, it's very Aronofsky, and it's very Aster. It's very Aster.
Yeah. Its main themes are obvious, like it's anxiety and guilt. Yes. Like it wears those on its sleeve. It's like, but what else does it mean, and what else is it doing? That's the more interesting stuff that I think is worth the conversation.
And what's real and what's not.
Yeah. Part of me thinks that everything from him being hit by the van is not real.
I think the only thing that's real in the movie is the birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
be honest.
Yeah, there's an element of that, isn't there? There's definitely an element of that.
It's fascinating, though. I think a lot of people can get something so different out of this movie. And you're right. I mean, it's hard to rate something, I guess. I think I came out just over midway. I think I liked this movie. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again.
No.
I would watch Midsommar's nearly as long, but I love that. I would watch that again and again. Hereditary is pretty strong too, but yeah, I think it's a big swing, and I'm glad it's made. I enjoyed the experience. I think people should go out their way and see it and get challenged by it, and it's nice.
It's not a career-ending film like some critics have said. Definitely not.
But for Aster or Phoenix?
For Aster.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No.
It's very comparable to what Chazelle done with Babylon, not just because of their length, but in terms of directors who've shown their worth very early and making something very passionate for them. Could be argued that Babylon's a 5 or a 1, but at the same time, it's interesting that guy, you can go out and make a big swing like that. But no, I don't think he's not bankable at all. I think people are still going to really go out their way to see an Aster horror film.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't think this was marketed as a horror film, and I think the length put a lot of people off. So it's probably not going to do the numbers. But if he returns to the the true horror genre route, then I'm sure he'll be fine. But I do you know what, this is probably my least favorite of his films, but I'm still even more excited to see what he does next.
Yeah,
despite my kind of I just don't know about this film, despite being really excited to talk to you about it today. Mainly because of that 12-foot penis. I was just like, what?
There's a lot more we could talk about. I mean, now that the movie, I came out of it last night and I didn't know what to say. I knew I had to at least wait to go to bed and wake up on this thing a little bit. But now talking to you, it's unlocked a little bit more. About the film, and it's interesting. But what do you think about Phoenix in terms of his what he's done in terms of his method act? He's always been known for fluctuating his weight in films. This time around, I know he's put on weight before for like things like You Were Never Really Here, but this time it's like he's just put on a lot of like baggy weight, and he feels very tired and everything. I appreciate what he throws into a performance. He's not there for the glamour. He's not vain.
Yeah, no, that's true. I do find like maybe it's just because the films that I've seen. No, the films that I've seen of his recently, I just feel like he does play the sad man a lot. And
It was nice to see him in Come On, where he did play a little bit of like, I like seeing him play the
yes,
nice guy.
I
He's
didn't
good at
see
that.
that. I didn't see that. So,
Yeah.
I think maybe that's just more to do with the fact that like the last couple of films probably have been Joker, and
And he's
you
got
were
a
never
Joker
really
movie on the
there.
way as
And
well.
I think I only watched The Master for the first time in the last
Oh,
few years. So
which he
like,
is incredible. He's good in that though.
oh
He
yeah,
is
yeah.
good.
Like, don't
That's
get
good.
me wrong, all the performances are great.
But
I
yeah,
just feel like, and again, it is only because of the films I've watched of his most recent.
yeah,
I feel like it is the kind of shtick I've seen from him before.
yeah.
That's not to take away from his performance. I think it's great, but
Oh, he fully
yeah,
commits.
I wasn't like blown away so much that I'm just like, he needs another Oscar.
No, no, I don't feel like I either. I think he displays the anxiety really, really well, and he throws himself into it, and it's actually quite shocking to watch. But yeah, I think I would like to see him play. Like, Come On is really refreshing for me, just to see him play a nice uncle, and he's really good at that. Like, I love Phoenix and her. Her is my favorite. When he plays Theodore, that's my favorite Joaquin Phoenix performance. I think he's so sweet
Yeah,
and
her is
tender in
good.
that film, and I
He's a
think
bit sad there as well, though.
he's sad, but yeah, he's sad, but he's very, very likable, for sure.
Yes, yes.
As the weeks go with movies like this, like, I'll probably like find myself in 4 days, we'll mention something to each other, like we've unlocked something different, and I have a little
Mm.
take on it. I mean, I haven't read any essays or watched any YouTube analysis videos, so I'll be looking forward to see whatever people, kind of smarter people, maybe have unlocked from this experience. But
Yeah, I've watched some videos and stuff, but there does seem to be a bit of a film bro community around
mm,
A24 films, so you don't like, not in a horrible way. We don't always seem to get the most smart analysis of these films sometimes.
okay, yeah, reference TikTok and etc. etc. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
about to get cancelled, but that's just how I feel, man.
Yeah, yeah, and everybody will tell you that Shawshank Redemption is the greatest film ever made. Oh dear. No, I was really interested in talking to you about Beau Afraid. I think it was worth seeing. I almost did not see it because time was ticking on. One of the multiplexes putting it on at ridiculous times. I had to go see this at 8 o'clock on a bloody weekday. It's like it was
Yeah,
two. It was either 2 times in the day. It was like 2 p.m. Or 8 o'clock. I'm like, I was out by midnight, like exhausted. I'm gonna get up for work at 6:30 the next day.
I had the same thing. I'm glad I did it, but it definitely
Yeah,
definitely started a bit of a tiring
and
week
you
for
ended up you ended up
me.
you ended up in the cinema by yourself, in a screen by yourself, watching a giant 12-foot penis on screen. You're like wondering, what am I
Stab a
doing?
man in the head.
Yeah. Ball sacks being like ripped apart and everything. Yeah, it's great stuff.
It is very interesting, very interesting. A good bloody performance from the actress who plays the older version of his mum at the end. Um,
Yes,
I was sad to
yes.
see Zoe Lister-Jones disappear because I do think she's really good. I really like her.
Mm.
But we get Patty LuPone, I think is her name, who plays, I guess, more of a
El-
present day
Elaine.
version of his mum. And
Oh no, sorry. Yes, is my version.
no, Parker Posey's Elaine.
Yes.
No, yeah, Mona Wasserman.
Yeah.
Um, there's a really interesting dynamic between the two at the end there, and the 12-foot penis.
Yeah. No, she like comes out of nowhere and like gives a performance. Definitely.
If
And
I was
like,
going to give anybody an Oscar, I'd give it to her.
yeah. I give it to the penis.
True, true. Did you notice that the delivery guy who picks up the phone was Bill Hader?
I thought so. Right. I didn't.
Yeah,
I
because
didn't.
he's kind of covering his face a
Yeah,
bit.
I didn't turn over, but I was like, I recognize that profile anywhere. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
get it from the phone conversation before, but like,
No,
but
I
Bill Hader's
didn't. I didn't either.
he's known for a good voice work though, so that's not a
Yeah.
surprise. But no, yeah, I thought that. I didn't explore it afterwards, but I definitely had the thought during it. I think people will have to see it for themselves to kind of really get what we're talking about there. But yeah,
Yes.
loads more to unpack. But it would just become the Beau is Afraid show. But
Yeah, sorry if
yeah.
this review is as random as the film itself, but this is just kind of the discussion it brings. Did you want to talk about any other films, Chris? It's like I don't have as much excitement to talk about other films.
You just want to go to bed because you still
No,
feeling
I just mean like I think this one conjures up so much interesting conversation. Whereas I know we both catch or caught Air, the
Fuck
Ben
yeah.
Affleck
I
film.
can talk about Air. Yeah.
It was a good dad movie, solid dad movie.
It's you got Matt Damon in it. Your dad loves Matt Damon.
You got Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. You got business,
You got-
sports,
yes.
marketing, trainers.
Yeah, super accessible. You don't even need to think about economics in this, even though I imagine the people who are actually involved were watching this movie and be like, they've got nothing in this movie. I mean, I find it really interesting though too. I thought it was fun. It's
Oh
fun.
yeah,
Like I
it's
watched
good.
this after I think I watched it. I forget what movie I watched before. That night. Oh, I watched How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which we both saw as well,
Yeah, yeah.
but which I really really liked. I think I like these movies equally, even though they're completely different movies and they're not even in the same ballpark. But after something like How to Blow Up a Pipeline, I watched Air afterwards. It was like 11 o'clock. I was like, why am I even watching a movie this late? It's quite late anyway. But it was really like a tonic. It's so easy to watch. It's just a typical weekend movie. You've had a crap week at work. You're stressed out. Stick this on, and it does the job. I mean, it
Mm.
conjures up. I haven't got nostalgia for the 80s, although I really like the 80s and the aesthetic. That's kind of the
Yeah, there's a
fantasized
lot of
aesthetic.
80s needle drops, which
Yeah,
just feels like they've just shuffled best of 80s music on
yeah, yeah.
Spotify and been like, put that one there.
Yeah, you got Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, those sort of numbers in here. The outfits that are worn by Affleck in this are pretty outrageous, like shell suits from the 80s and everything. Yeah, I thought it was good fun. There was is information I find interesting. I didn't realize that Michael Jordan was so young whenever this deal happened. Like at the start I thought like this was going to be like a mid-career thing for like Jordan, and I was going to be like, well, what's so interesting about that? But the fact that they signed this guy on when he was 18 years old and had
Mm,
like sort of promise but didn't completely prove his potential yet, but we know what happened anyway.
mm,
It only like it makes they did a good job of making this deal seem monumental and like both equally potentially catastrophic for this company that seemed to be not doing as well as its competitive peers, like Adidas and Converse. I think they are the two main competitors that they highlight in this
mm.
movie, and they're below in the curve and keeping relevant. So they needed something really juicy, and Damon's character has the idea to put all of their money and their investment of the year towards this one player and put it in a shoe, which pretty interesting, really. Actually,
Yeah,
yeah,
especially because we all know the Air Jordans. So
yeah,
we know they're essentially going to win the battle in the end. Um, Still able to create some kind of tension of like, oh, how are they actually going to do this? Because it does feel like the odds are stacked against them.
yeah,
And yeah, it's really interesting. Despite the fact that it is basically office meetings
yeah,
with some good music on. But they kind of they do them well, and there's enough
mm,
humor and some snappy dialogue that yeah, do you know what? It's a really easy film to watch, and
yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it.
And
I love Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I don't know
that's
what
the
it is.
thing.
I'm just like I'm not even sure if I'm nostalgic for them because they were a '90s thing, and I wasn't watching their films in the '90s.
Yeah,
But like, I don't know. They're a good duo. It
yeah.
doesn't make sense, but it makes sense.
There's something relatable within them in terms of how they play these characters, and I think Affleck, his strength as a director, and I think Damon is just there's something about Matt Damon that's an everyman, and I think that's what
Mm,
people really really, really relate to. Whether maybe that's because he's got the bit of the relatable dad bod in this too that they like to like highlight. Also, but yeah, there's something about there's an underdog story in here, and everybody likes an underdog. I mean, I don't know if they're really as much of an underdog as they were maybe in reality. I don't know. The
yeah.
movie kind of like really tries to capitalize, and it's a very basic look at economics and everything in this. It's like the Wolf of Wall Street thing. We can tell you all about it, but you'll be asleep. So we're just gonna get to the good stuff. But
Yeah.
I liked all the stuff of the designing the shoe, learning about that. I didn't know that there were the rules in the NBA where like certain
Yeah,
percentage of
that
the
was
shoe had to be
interesting.
white and can be color. And I like the way that we'll take the hit, we'll take the penalties, we'll pay $5,000 a match so that Jordan can be seen wearing these shoes. I thought it was really like, that's pretty cool. I mean, like those are sort of like moments that you kind of get excited about.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a really, really fun movie, to be honest. I'd recommend it to anybody who like wants to chill out and throw anything, something on that's not going to tax them, but they're going to find rewarding. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. To the two people who left Beau was afraid
Go
halfway
see it.
through,
Yeah, you'll
go
like
see
it.
Air. You might enjoy Air. Interesting. You bring up How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which is a film which will get you on a FBI watch list. But another
Well,
film that was influenced by a film that we've been watching in the BFI series. It's quite nice to see how these films have influenced modern directors, really. A Man Escaped is the one that's been acknowledged
yeah,
by the
I could
director,
see
I
that.
believe. It's a very methodical film about blowing up a pipeline.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know
like,
if it fully explains how to do it,
yeah,
but it is kind of based on a manifesto, which is really interesting. And it's this kind of it's a pro eco terrorist film. That's it's good. It's very good.
it is good. It is good, and it's very like it has that very Man Escaped thing to it. Where in a Man Escaped, it was very focused on you had these POV shots of hands really actually doing the physical tasks. Like really scratching away bits of door to make a tool, and you really got this really analog feeling to that movie. This movie is very much like that too. I really like the strength about this movie for me was actually how it was framed, how it was sort of structured. I really like that we get thrown into these really intense scenarios that are left in like mini cliffhangers that are only broken up by we get backflashes into an individual story, and we'll have a title card that will show the character's name, and then we'll learn a little bit about them, not too much but enough to keep us really interested and invested in going into the next scene. Yeah, I really like that structure. It was like if Lost did it, if Lost wasn't meandering, it was kind of like that.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you because it kind of it gave you a good idea of where all these characters had come from,
Mm.
but without doing like a massive kind of
Yeah,
origin
there's
setup at
more.
the
There's more
start.
to learn. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
and you make it's well paced. You're making it through the story. It's not a long film, so
no,
it is really interesting. And yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but you kind of feel for them at the end, and yeah, you kind of well, I
yeah,
don't know, you don't disagree with what I did so much, as
sure.
long as people aren't getting hurt.
No, I think it's a really good choice to make. Like I'm not familiar with many of these actors here. By casting people who aren't really big stars, I think only really
Mm,
makes the story feel a bit more like you're watching a documentary or you're watching something that's a little bit more angry and vital. You can get behind that a lot
yeah,
more. That's a good
yeah,
decision. Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
I
Um,
did think that maybe like the characters themselves were all they were all none no two of them were the same in terms of their background and story. So I think maybe it was too kind of focused in trying to represent every single type of person who would be involved in something like this. I think it's a little bit too clean in
mm,
terms of like trying to diversify the cast. Um, and also there's some moments that are a little bit strange that involve like law enforcement that are I think are odd choices, but I for the most part I was pretty caught up in the intensity of this, and I think the movies looks stunning too.
yes, yeah. And it's got like a nice little twist, and obviously I'm not going to
Yeah,
spoil that, but I think the way it kind of the way it reveals itself as it goes on is really interesting.
yeah, I think you can do no discredit to somebody by like if someone's listening to this and they haven't seen the film, but us talking about the film, I don't think spoils it at all for you.
Mm,
The whole kind of the enjoyment of this film or the intensity of this film is just by watching it and just seeing how the filmmaking is put together. It's kind of similar to like I can describe you everything that happens in Free Solo, but it's never going
mm.
to equal to the experience of actually watching Free Solo. You're not going to get that same nail biting experience. So yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and watch it. It's really good. I think not enough people have seen it. It did get a
Yeah,
theatrical release in multiplexes for like a couple of days, where
yeah.
we were, but
I think it was playing in the watershed for a good week when I was there.
yeah, yeah. I imagine I
Which
would
is,
have got a good response there. To
yeah,
be fair,
yeah,
yeah, no, loved. I really like this movie.
yeah. I did too. I did too. I think, yeah. Is it my favorite of the three that we've just spoken about? I think it might be in terms of just being a pretty solid all rounder.
Yeah,
Probably more fun. Beau was afraid. Probably sparks more conversation. But
it's like one of those rare occurrences. I like all three of them equally for different reasons. I think
hmm,
none of them are perfect. I think, but they are strong in area. They definitely are strong and memorable. All three of these movies are memorable. You know.
so it's been a good couple of weeks for
Yeah,
cinema. Been a
yeah. I
good
mean,
couple of weeks.
yeah, we got like we're well into summer now. There's a lot of things on the horizon. I'm worried though. I've seen the reviews for one of my most anticipated movies of the year coming out of Cannes. I've seen reviews for Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones, and I'm so
Yeah,
worried. But I'm coming. We always go into these things objectively, like with a
yeah.
clear head. I love Indiana Jones, so I'll be optimistic going into that.
I'm
We've got
sure we'll be speaking about the four films prior to it in the next few weeks because I know we'll both be trying to catch up with those.
and Disney
Um,
Plus are putting them all on their platform.
yes,
As well. So
yeah,
good excuse to catch up on.
yeah,
It's not
and
hard.
amazing reviews, not coming out of Cannes, but amazing reviews for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Part One.
Across the Spider Verse.
Oh yeah, one yeah, Across the Spider-Verse. Yes.
Dude, I'm gonna like tease you for that forever. You're the Spider Man guy.
All right, all right.
No. I think responses, at the time of this recording, just came out sort of today. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, there's no surprise. I saw the trailer. I know he's behind this. All you got to do is do the thing again and give us more story. I think they're on to something really great the first time around. And yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there in IMAX to see that thing. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Reviews that came out of Cannes that were stellar, fantastic. Scorsese's upcoming Flowers of the Killer Moon, probably the film I'm most excited about.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I've already been
5-star
doing.
masterpiece. I'm calling it out now.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I mean, that seems really bad. Like, if we on here, we do amateur sort of film criticism, but like, and I would try to stay as objective as possible. But
Best movie ever.
I know. Well, you know what? I'm seeing like from people I follow on Letterboxd. I say like, people like David Sims, like big film critics like that, saying like his tagline was just colossal for his 5-star review. People
Mm,
saying it feels very, it's like the ultimate history of roots of America story. And in terms of its like corruption and its turn from its roots to where it is now. Yeah, I'm really interested in this. I know a little bit about the Osage murders in the 20s and the atrocities that happened there, and I'm really really interested to see how big he goes with it here.
mm,
I think it's fascinating putting De Niro in the role of William Hale. He was famously behind orchestrating a lot of these murders for this it was to claim the oil lands that the Osage tribe had. So to see De Niro play quite a sinister role, hopefully not in a in a comic book sense, but like to see him
mm.
play something like this is quite different. I'm really excited about that.
Exciting stuff ahead.
Yeah.
However, Chris, you need to look back. You need to go back to our BFI Sight and Sound films. I'm too ahead of you right now, and we
Yeah.
need to talk about them.
Despite
Uh,
our protestations about stress, you seem to be having a lot of free time to catch up on 9 hour movies or 7 hour
look,
movies. Sorry.
look. All right, I took 2 days off to go see Beyonce in Cardiff. Great show, by the way. Great show.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, four and a
I
half
believe you.
stars.
I believe you. I believe
Four and a half stars. But yeah, so the day after, I had I took the day off because I knew it was going to be a late one coming back from that one. So I walked the dog and I watched a 7-hour Hungarian film. So
Yeah.
leave me to it, all right?
Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, you do you, but I don't worry. We'll definitely be chatting Santan Tango next week. Um,
Oh, He said it, so now he has to do it.
I have to do it now. I've set aside, got a bank holiday weekend. I've set aside my whole kind of Saturday. I know it's blistering sun out there and I should be outside, but I'm going to commit myself to a bleak and dark, wet, black and white Hungarian movie that I'm, from what I've heard through the grapevine, that you kind of enjoyed. So it's made me even more interested.
No comment.
No comment. Okay.
No comment. You'll find out, I'm sure, next week if Kris, you do get around to watching it, which I hope you do.
No
but,
problem.
I get it. It's 7 hours. I get it. If you can't do it,
it will be. I assume it's the longest film you've ever seen in your life.
Yes. Yeah. Easily.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I watched straight after maybe the second longest film with a 4 hour 20-minute film, and then the next day watched Beau Was Afraid, which was 3 hours, which felt short in comparison.
Yeah,
no, I'm joking. Film. Actually, there were elements of Beau Was Afraid which felt longer than the 4 hour. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here.
Oh dear.
Getting off topic, but anyway, what we're trying to say is a lot of exciting stuff coming up. So make sure you are subscribed to the Film Angle and you keep listening and you tell your friends and your family and you subscribe to us on Instagram and you like us on TikTok.
Yeah.
Get to it, people.
Yeah. I think you should. We try to cover, all facets of what's kind of going on. So yeah, I think stay tuned and you can learn something a little bit. We'll listen to us talk about something that's completely out of our depth. And then you can listen to us talk about Spider-Man or Barbie in a couple of weeks' time, where we might have a little bit more of a grip on what's going on.
Oh man, there's some good stuff coming out.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well then, let's give it a rest for this week. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kris.
And this has been the Film Angle for this week. Exciting stuff ahead, and I think some exciting films we've been talking about. Go watch Beau Was Afraid if it's still in the cinema and you have 3 hours and you can fit it in and you're happy to I don't know, get swept up in the moment.
Yeah.
Don't drink and don't take drugs before watching this film.
Oh, I thought you meant generally. Okay, yeah.
And
you shouldn't do that anyway.
Enjoy the odd drink,
Yeah, I mean,
drink is legal.
Your own discretion. We won't impose anything.
Drink responsibly, everyone. But go clear-headed into Beau Was Afraid, or you might have a panic attack. So.
you might get yourself in trouble.
Anyway, that's been us for this week. Have a good one, guys.
See you later. Bye.